The news is interesting right now as it relates to the programming that has been infused into the character Donald Trump, who is currently playing the role of the President of the United States of America. That entity is the personification of the 9/11 ritual. It's the controlled demolition of the United States of America itself. And in that context, they are quite literally demolishing the White House right now, at the same time that there is a government shutdown taking place. Do you see how those two things are subconsciously reinforcing the idea that this is the controlled demolition of the United States of America? A quote-unquote government shutdown while the actual White House is being destroyed. Trump takes a wrecking ball to the White House in on-the-nose metaphor. Beyond the Oz-like curtain, demolition crews were tearing down part of the White House's East Wing so they could start building Trump's ballroom. A $250 million project he says will be paid for by himself and unnamed donors. There it is, right? The Oz-like curtain, demolition crews, and the White House. It's the whole story of what they are doing through this character as it relates to the larger ritual, which involves your mind being sent somewhere else, turned into something new. And in the context of this symbolism here, they are rebuilding a ballroom in the place of the thing they're destroying. And it's being rebuilt by Trump, organized and funded by him, or obviously the entities that script these things through him. He's just the front man. This is a picture of what is actually going on, and you can see how there is the West Wing, the actual White House residence, and then the East Wing where the demolition works are being carried out. I mean, when you look at it in a picture like this, it's so very clear what's taking place, right? This is the controlled demolition of the United States of America. This is the building that represents the country, right? It represents its seat of power. Whoever is in this building ostensibly controls the country. And there is a demolition being carried out. There's the whole thing right there. I mean, this is very literal in the way they're showing it to everybody now. This is an image from the Washington Post where you can really feel what they are conveying here, right? You have this ground zero, quote unquote, looking area in the shadow of the White House main residence and the American flags. It looks like the aftermath of the controlled demolition on September 11th, 2001 in New York City. Except it's the actual White House that Trump is residing in, where the demolition is taking place this time. And that is what he is, right? He's the twin of that event. And this is being shown to you through this twin demolition of the White House. The National Trust for Historic Preservation added to criticism of the administration in a letter to the National Park Service and other organizations Tuesday, warning that the current design of the ballroom threatens to overwhelm the White House and requesting a freeze on further construction until a commission that oversees the iconic urban landscape of the nation's capital is consulted. There you have a similar idea that this new ballroom being built by Trump is going to overwhelm the White House as it originally functioned. That's the metaphor, right? This is something new being built in the ashes of the controlled demolition. The United States of America will be something completely different. It's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it, said Hillary Clinton, the former First Lady and the Secretary of State for President Barack Obama, in a post on the social media site X. It's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. Now, there is dual meaning there. Of course, on the surface level, she is referring to the fact that you are a taxpayer, and this is your house in that context. But what she is also saying is that it's your house, it's your mind, and he's destroying it as a part of this ritual. He is jumping your mind into a new dimension through the propaganda that has been infused into his character and everything they associate with it. It's your house and he's destroying it. You see? And in that way, it's not his house. This is something that's been scripted into him, that he is acting out. Now check this out. The 90,000 square foot ballroom will be able to accommodate 650 people, up from the existing 200 person capacity of the White House's existing event space, according to White House plans. Trump on Monday said it would allow as many as 999 people to attend gatherings. Well, of course, let's flip 999 upside down and we get 666. Think about what's being said there in the context of it's your house being destroyed, right? Your mind is being destroyed. It's being turned into something else. Well, in that context, Trump says that this new ballroom he represents in relationship to the White House and the country itself will hold as many as 666 people. And this is alluding to the carbon atom, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. It alludes to many things, but that's one of the main ones in relationship to this larger ritual, right? Because that is what makes up our bodies, which are carbon-based. The carbon atom 666 phrase references the chemical makeup of a carbon atom, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons, and connects it to the biblical number 666. Some view this connection as an interpretation of 666 as the number of life or the code of creation, due to carbon being the basis for all organic life. In contrast, 666 is famously known in the Bible as the number of the beast, associated with imperfection or evil, while carbon's structure is a fundamental scientific fact. Metaphorically, this new ballroom is relating to the controlled demolition of the United States of America, where something rises from the ashes like a phoenix, which then simultaneously relates to your body, the carbon-based life form that it is, being changed into something else as well, something new rising from your ashes, metaphorically speaking. This is the merger with the digital twin, right? This is the eyes being fused into the screen. This is the whole point of the climate change narrative, the problem with too much carbon. We need to reduce carbon, right? It's a reduction of the carbon in your body into something else. The ballroom will hold 999 people, 666. And in that connection, it's the East Wing that is being demolished and turned into something else, which most likely connects Sirius into this as well, which it was front and center at the 9/11 ritual in New York City and is seeded throughout all of this stuff that we are presented with, going all the way back to Egypt. Meaning the term Eastern Star most likely refers to the star Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, or the woman's branch of the Freemasons, the Order of the Eastern Star. Sirius is often found in the eastern sky and is historically significant in ancient Egyptian culture. So it's the East Wing of the White House that's being demolished. Meaning, in the context of that 666 carbon being reduced into something new, you have the more esoteric spiritual angle to this whole thing, where the Golden Gate in the East is opened in your mind. And spiritually, you fuse with this new age, right? As presented to you by them. And so Trump is demolishing and rebuilding the temple that is the East Wing, right? This new ballroom, 666. And it's interesting, too, just looking at the White House and how it's designed in terms of the two wings. Well, you have the idea of it being a plane in this way, as that relates to the 9/11 ritual and how Donald Trump is connected into that. He's demolishing one of the wings of the plane, as it were. And his two terms are those two planes flying into those two towers. And in that connection, the government shutdowns are subconsciously infused into this whole thing to further the power of the ritual. It is now just a fact that the two longest government shutdowns in United States history were both under the presidencies of Donald Trump. The longest one took place during his first term in late 2018 into 2019 and lasted 35 days. And this current government shutdown is now the second longest shutdown in United States history. So think about that. The two longest government shutdowns are now associated with Donald Trump. And the current government shutdown is associated with the demolishing of the White House, of the East Wing, presided over by Donald Trump, right? The government shutdown, the controlled demolition of the United States of America. And if you search for this story, you will be confronted with a bunch of images where they have the demolition side by side with Donald Trump, right? Linking those two things together. And in this one, you have him holding an image of this new golden ballroom. And it's interesting to me that the construction equipment they chose for the demolition is Genesis. It's the origin of something new, right? This new thing that's being built out of the ashes of the controlled demolition. I'm sure this particular construction equipment is used all over the country and maybe even the world in projects like this, but just very interesting that there are these images with Genesis and controlled demolition, the White House, the flag, right next to Donald Trump, with images of the new gold ballroom that is being built in the ashes of this demolition. It's the Golden Gate, right? That whole idea about what is being opened both in your mind and in Jerusalem as it relates to this whole story. And this was interesting to me in the context of The Shining, where the gold room or the gold ballroom is a large ballroom contained within the Overlook Hotel. And hopefully you can see why I would think of that. Number one, because Donald Trump is quite literally being said to be building a golden ballroom in the ashes of the old East Wing, right, at the White House. And as the personification of 9/11, he is directly associated with 2001: A Space Odyssey and the Overlook Hotel, right? That Millennium Hilton monolith overlooking September 11, 2001, overlooking the destruction of those two towers. So they've kind of infused the Overlook Hotel and the Golden Ballroom into this new ballroom at the White House that will hold up to 999 people, 666, the Space Odyssey. Jumping into a new dimension, the eyes fusing with the screen. And the picture at the end of The Shining is dated July 4th, 1921, right? So you have the July 4th connection to the United States of America and what this golden ballroom represents in that context. What happens at the end of The Shining, right? Jack Nicholson's character is trapped in the Overlook Hotel. Do you see the metaphor there? We are trapped in the Overlook Hotel. Our eyes fuse with the screen. The Overlook Hotel is the Millennium Hilton at Ground Zero, quote unquote. The controlled demolition. The East Wing is being demolished. A golden ballroom is being built in its place. 666, carbon reduced. Your eyes are reduced into something else. The carbon changes. It fuses with technology. The mind itself fuses with this collective egregore that has been created. As that relates to Sirius, the sun behind the sun, and the spiritual propaganda that has been infused into that. And I say propaganda, but I'm sure there's some very real things going on with how Sirius interacts with the sun and the moon and just our whole setup in general to where it has an effect. But it's how this stuff works. They take that real thing and they embed their programming on top of it to more easily influence our minds and control us in that way, subconsciously. And obviously, this all ties back to Donald Trump taking the walk on the East Wing where this new construction would take place, where the controlled demolition would take place, which ties in the whole walk Back to the Future angle and ties in the Captain America Brave New World where the Red Hulk is on top of the White House destroying it. And that is the result of experiments on the bloodline that changes the president into something else, which metaphorically is you, right? It's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. Do you see how that's functioning there on so many different levels? And then as a part of that, he's quite literally constructing a Stargate or a gateway. In Washington, D.C., across from the Lincoln Memorial, that will be referred to as the so-called Arc de Trump, right? And these are triumphal arches. It's this thing that goes all the way back to ancient Rome, where they would build these arches to symbolize a great victory, which is where the name comes from, but the play on words is the Arc de Trump. U.S. President Donald Trump wants to build a triumphal arch across from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., the latest in his efforts to make over the capital city in his style. So now, if they do this, it'll be the Lincoln Memorial, which is going back to a president that was assassinated, and then the Trump Gateway. And hopefully you can see how both of these things have assassination connotations and Civil War connotations, right? Because Lincoln was the president during the Civil War. And they held a dinner discussing all of this stuff with a bunch of different people in attendance, but I just wanted to read this along those lines. The guests reportedly included representatives from tech firms such as Amazon, Apple, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Palantir, and the defense giant Lockheed Martin, as well as twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, the founders of crypto platform Gemini. So you have the Gemini twins at this dinner where they are discussing all of this stuff. The new golden ballroom, 666. The twin of 9/11 is discussing the plans as it relates to the controlled demolition of America itself in terms of how he subconsciously embodies that programming as the personification of 9/11, the twin of that event. In that sense, he is the Palantir that allows you to see and connect into another dimension. Naturally, these two twins are invited to this event and noted in the article. so that you make that connection subconsciously. So it's the whole thing in this image, like I said earlier, the controlled demolition of the United States of America itself. Government shutdown and the East Wing controlled demolition. Ground zero for the end of America itself as an empire. A new gateway opened through what they are doing in Washington, D.C. The triumph of Trump, right? And what does Donnie Darko wear in that film? He wears a Triumph t-shirt. Dark O, the Great American Eclipse.